Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we're talking to Chuck Billy of Testament about his new book, Holding My Breath, The Two Testaments of Chuck Billy. Check it out. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans with Bands, and I am talking to Chuck Billy. Chuck, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you, Chuck?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's kind of weird to be referencing somebody else's name, Chuck. So it's like, all right.
Well, it's kind of makes sense. It's the two Chucks, just
That's
like
right, man.
kind of the book title.
Awesome. Well, first off, I want to thank you, man, so much for all the music for years. I've been a fan since I read about a band called The Legacy and then picked up this album called The Legacy, from this band called
Yeah.
Testament. I've been a fan for forever, man. So many great shows. I was actually in Detroit end of March to catch you with Overkill
Oh,
and
cool.
Destruction. Yeah, it sounded
Nice, nice.
fantastic. Yeah, so good. But we're not here to talk about so much about Testament as we are to talk about you. And you have a new book coming
Yeah.
out.
All right.
Yeah, November 10th, called Holding My
Yeah,
Breath, The Two Testaments of Chuck Billy. Crazy.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Happened so fast, man. It's like I just started the project and it's like, wow, I'm already talking about it. It's coming out. It's like, man, it just happens fast. Much different than putting out an album.
oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I want to ask you about that. But at first, I want to talk about so you have Old and New Testament. So, what was that like as far for you for splitting the two halves of your life in and writing the book?
Well, I mean, I've done every interview. I'm really kind of a private guy, so I've never really shared much when I do interviews at Testament. They don't go back to my past, so
Yeah.
it's really current questions. So I wanted to, when I was first approached about doing it, I thought, okay, well, it's going to be tough project. I don't want to sit there and type it out myself. This is, where do I start? The whole thing. It's just,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, you know, but once I sat down with a publisher and a writer, and it really changed things, and we got a rhythm going because, you know, I read a few autobiographies, and what I liked about a lot of the ones I really enjoyed was the ones that went back and talked about who they were as children or just growing up before they were successful or
Yeah.
celebrities. And that's the part I liked. So I thought that's what I really kind of want to portray in my book, because my story was, you know, starting the title itself, Holding My Breath. The book starts out like when I'm almost 8 months old,
Oh, wow.
so so it starts out holding my breath at 8 months old. And the way that played out throughout my life, especially talking about things in my life for the book, it really kind of made sense and put things in perspective a little bit. It was cool in that sense, to kind of make it a little bit of therapeutic, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but there's so many stories that it's not enough room to do it all. So you kind of like got to pick your way through your life to figure out what do you want in there. And most of it, it can't be all good. There's got to be some bad, dirty stuff, like all the bad drug use and stupid shit like that,
Yeah.
and dumb things we did, and and the fighting, and just stupid stuff that you do that you don't talk about
Yeah.
you know
But
um
some of those things are the kind of the critical moments in your life. You may not know at the time, but they make a change in who you are, right?
yeah, especially like for me, grew up, my father was a coach, so all of us boys, five boys, we're all athletes, and all had desire to play sports and go to college in sports and play bro sports. That was our, like, that's what you think you want to do.
Yeah.
But then when I got kicked out of high school my senior year, um, I turned to music. So I had my crossroads. So I had that mentality of an athlete in competition and stuff, and now I'm in the music business, and so it's kind of like showing that who that young athletic kid with that mindset going into the music business, how that worked for me.
Yeah.
And the way the reference holding my breath plays out and carries into myself, but into my music career and who I was in this band and having, I don't know, I guess not being asked to be the leader of the band, but I guess just, you
Taking
know,
over.
taking over. I'm the leader of the fucking band, just so I mean, how that comes to be when you read who he was as a child, you'll go, okay, I can see how, when he's got in this band,
Yeah.
and I explained the way, just being a big kid coming from this small suburbia going into now to Berkeley Square and the Stone and seeing all this new music live and these meeting all these musicians, and they all seem to be smaller than me, and just like it's like, wow, there's such a different world that I'm in right now from
Yeah.
my athletic world, you know. Um, so yeah, so that just it just when you talk about it, I think about God, it's so two-sided my life, my choices I made in life, but also the critical part when I talked about it was I thought my life expectation was going to be 38 years old. I had a moment when I was, I don't know, 17, 16, 17 years old, laying in a bed, looking at, we sold our soul for rock and roll, Black Sabbath record, loving it to death in the dark, and just want to be somebody, that athlete or that musician or that entertained something.
Yeah.
And I think I even like said 38 was the year. So I always had this thing like I was selling myself to
Really?
become something at 38. So when 38 came, I got diagnosed with cancer. So I thought, oh shit, that premonition's happening. It's going to come true. I've
That's
been very
crazy.
successful kind of up to this point right now with my music, and everything I asked I wanted, it happened. And so it was a crazy thing, but also it had to be a crazy thing and crossroad in my life for me to get back in the original band of Testament too, because we had broken up and
Right.
we're apart and there was no future of talking and get back together. But
Yeah.
for me getting sick and having a reunion benefit show and all of us getting together and playing together and then having an opportunity to perform at a show, and that kind of opened the door to get back together for some shows, kind of, did it for us, but also that benefit show also opened the door again for Exodus and Death Angel and Violence and Forbidden and
Yeah.
Heathen and all these bands that weren't doing anything kind of put their differences apart, played the show, and still kept going and are still doing good things. So it was just weird crossroad in the story that I seen that, like, I made it through that 38. I didn't die, and I got cancer and I beat it. I got my band back together, and I've had all this great success in music and all these great records since then.
Yeah.
Man, there's something to be told there. I think I need to tell, a little bit of how it's played through.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned, that you had been in sports as a kid and, that kind of, being a bigger dude, in terms of just getting into music. Like, did you always have that kind of commanding presence and then that just translated into being the front man in the band?
Well, it was because I had come from a aggressive athletic background, football, basketball. I was an aggressive athlete, big kid.
Yeah.
So here I'm on stage. First thing, all I know is aggression. So, I'm trying to sing, but also not be soft. I'm
Yeah.
playing harder music now. You got to be a little aggressive. So, okay, I got it. And that kind of, that was the competitive juice in me, was that part of it, I guess. In
Yeah.
those early days,
Had you
was
ever
the competition.
Right, right.
Because I
Had you
didn't see myself as a good singer. I wasn't a singer. I was a guitar player before that. I just
uh,
happened to stumble into becoming a singer, and next thing you know, I'm singing in this band now, and I'm like, okay. I mean, it's different, especially because when I learned and trained to be a singer, I wanted to be a melodic singer, and now I'm singing this barking singing and really regimented singing into whole different styles. So, it was a whole different thing for me.
Yeah, yeah. When what was like the earliest age that you got into music? Like, do you remember like the first album you bought, the first kind of concert? Was there a moment when you like said, I really would like to do music?
Well, I don't that moment, but I do know music always played a big part. I had older brothers that listened to music and had records and played guitars. So that music was a part, was around there. It was kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool, making their own music and making their own sounds out of the guitar and stuff. And then of course in our era, we had what was it, K-Tel Records, where you sent in a
Uh,
penny and you got like
that's
12
right. Yeah.
cassettes, and you
Right.
you use your neighbor's address or something to go collect them. So that's kind of like the intro to starting your own record music collection. But the first record I think I had enough money to go buy, it was like the Beach Boys album, and I had the single on it, Boss 409 on it was the song that had me going at the time. And so that was like my own personal record
Awesome.
I bought. But for me, the live thing, because was still like music, and in eighth grade, ninth grade, started playing guitar.
Uh-huh.
So I was still playing sports throughout high school. Um, and yeah, I think around eighth and ninth grade, but I went and seen Kiss in 1976. So I
Oh,
must have been 14 years old.
awesome.
And seeing Gene Simmons spit blood and the fire and the costumes and the powerful presence, to me, was it. I was like, holy shit, that's like entertaining. That
Right.
I never seen anything like that. So, of course, we all go back home and we're strumming guitars, putting on shows for the neighborhood kids, thinking we're Kiss. So that kind of puts that into your mind, that you're trying to be a star, strumming tennis rackets.
Right.
So that's kind of what starts it. We used to
Uh,
put on shows and the garage door would open up and there we are.
oh,
We're
awesome.
cranking Kiss, playing like air guitaring Kiss, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been there too. Kiss and we used to get into Ted Nugent, like what was it?
Yeah.
Weekend Warriors, you know.
But Kiss for a young kid was just so theatrical,
Oh, I
trying
know.
to
I
make
was a
the
huge Kiss
costume
fan.
or do that, just make the shoes or all the, do have the moves and all that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Those guys just blew me away every time I've seen them. Just fantastic. But anyway, uh, you were mentioning, in 38 you were diagnosed with cancer. Was it tough for you to go back and kind of relive that to write the book?
Um, you know, it should be, you know, I've talked about it in some interviews. I don't talk about it as much anymore because I've covered it in interviews. But
Mhm.
I thought for the book, I wanted to be a little more detail, try to have the reader there a little more than I did in an interview.
Yeah.
Um, because, the three healers I did meet with, the three stories are just almost unreal or almost unbelievable to comprehend. You know what I mean? So it's when you tell them, it's like, God, that's what happened. I mean, Eric, you were there. You seen me walk through the wolves and all this stuff. It's like, it's like it's just
Wow.
it's crazy the way it all happened and things aligned. It's when they say the stars aligned. It's one of those things. Things aligned for me to see the right people, be at the right place, and do the right things,
Yeah.
and made my way through it. And, I guess the question is, why did I beat 38? Why didn't I not die? What did I have to prove more in life? And it's got to be my music, because the music I wrote from 2000 to now, all those records and songs
Yeah.
are some of the best work we've done.
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
think they're more personal, they're more real, and I guess they're selfish in a way too, because I think once we had the reunion, we weren't really writing thinking about, oh, let's worry about what critiques are going to write about it or talk about it or
Right.
things. We were being selfish, right, for ourselves. It felt good and it sounded good and it turned us on. We were going to do it. And from then on, we've had success with that mindset. So it's so that I think that defines Testament because we've stuck with that mindset with these last, what from the Gathering and Formation, Dark Roots, Brotherhood, Titans of Creation, and now Parabellum. All
Right.
those songs are just like, wow, man,
Yeah.
what came of it that should have been dark and over. It just is it that there's a story there too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned um, that you had these basically, embracing your heritage and seeking out kind of like a spiritual guidance. Do you think that's transformed your music going forward? I know you've basically said that the music's been better than ever, but has it influenced the way you think about like writing lyrics and structure of songs?
I don't think in that sense. I think it's just well, definitely, like I said earlier, just especially having Alex back in the band and me, Eric and Alex like the main guys in the band, we don't
Yeah.
want that breakup to ever happen again. So learning to live and be good friends and not have friction, and because I think that's what caused it earlier was because we were still young and creative. All everybody wanted the spotlight, where there's no spotlight anymore. It's just let's have fun doing what we do. We
Right.
we have nothing to prove. We have nothing to prove to nobody anymore. Only thing we have to prove is to ourselves that we could still do this and that we're having fun doing it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier, comparing a book to the to doing a New Testament album. How does that compare? What is that process like? Was it just so alien to write a book that it just felt monumental compared to doing a new album?
Well, it's definitely easy because now if I wrote another book, I'd kind of know what to do and I know what to expect. But I think it's I think I could get a process done quicker next time around. And when you tell your own personal story, maybe you drag it along a little bit more, or because you don't want to leave shit out. I gotta kind of be reminded of help with a little help or reminders along the way. But
Yeah.
when you're working with five other guys that are in the story, then we all kind of remind each other and talk it out, and we all and that's I think that'd be interesting because that'd be the therapeutic part of it. All of us kind of talking it through with each other,
Oh yeah.
you know.
Yeah. To basically like interview yourself, like each other, right? To
Yeah,
talk about all that, right? Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Book two.
That'd be interesting. And then also should video that and
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's a great idea actually, because then you could take that in terms of like, uh, working on a new record. Then you can just have these interviews where you guys are talking together, talking about like, you know, everything really.
Yeah.
How things have changed between, way back in '86 to now, and that's yeah, that'd be awesome. So cool.
Yeah. That's an idea. I have to put that
There
put my
you
head
go.
together on that. Yeah.
So you had Rob Halford and Randy Blythe like do the forward and afterward. Why those two? I mean, I kind of guessed, but what was it?
Well,
What was important to you about having them?
it's the two testaments of Chuck Billy, and the two testaments is up to my illness and the testament before that, and then the Chuck after that, and the big testament after that. So Rob Halford, and for me, like when I was in high school, I'd cut school and play as a guitar player. I'd play nothing but Judas Priest songs. I love Judas Priest is that, and I got to tour and be friends with Rob was and get to tour and be that, so that he was a part of that younger, early first Chuck, and Testament, the original Testament band. So
Yeah,
that was important for me to have him. If Ronnie James Dio here, I'd have asked him as well, to be a part of it.
right.
Um, and then Randy was after my illness. So after 2000, 2001 was when we got to meet and tour with Lamb of God and hang out and meet Mark and hang out and go to his house and hang out and become friends. That was the second part of Chuck and the Testament, you know,
Yeah.
beyond that crossroad. So it made sense that point, you know, to have them two. You know, the hardest thing is to get up the nerve to ask because, you know, that's yeah, I'm writing a book. Hey, do you mind? You want to do a forward or an outward? You know, and it's like, you know,
Right.
you don't want the rejection or oh, I'm too busy. You just I don't like that. So I drug my feet to ask those two for a long time and finally did, and they both did. And Rob Halford came through within like 3 days with his, and me and
Oh
my
man.
wife were like in tears, just like it was so
Oh
strong and powerful. I was like, wow, what words! That guy's a magician with words.
yeah. Well, you mentioned other, other artists, musicians doing books, and his books have been fantastic. I've read both of those. I love them. So good.
Yeah,
And to give,
yeah,
so that's why I'm looking forward to yours because, like you said, that aspect of you before you were Chuck Billy and Testament, right? I think that's going to be very interesting. But speaking of like the writing of the book, so you had Dave Erickson, help with the writing, and you
yes.
mentioned that you've done interviews, but have basically been sort of reserved. Did you have to? How did you feel comfortable working with him? Did it take a period of time to be? Because you're sharing a lot of
It
like truth.
of course, but also um, it took it took like some trial run throughs for me to read his writing
Yeah.
because he had to make sure he talked like me, or
Right.
basically either if you're going to write it, you got to either write our interviews word for word, or you have to learn my cadence and how I am.
Yeah.
So over time, he got it, and then meeting in person and hanging out, he really got to know me. So
Nice.
that it's easier for him to write. But again, it's hard for me because, you know, when you talk about yourself, especially the way I picture myself and what I talked about, you know, it's almost makes you sound like, you know, my wife even says like, man, you almost sound like you're a bully. And I'm like, God, I know. Does it? It's like, but what else am I going to talk about? That's how I felt when I was a kid, that I was just this big kid in sports and just bullying my way through. And well, that just,
Yeah.
that's the way it felt, you know? And so, I mean, what am I supposed to say? So I tell those stories because it's the way I felt. And when I think back about it, I just remember those things and,
Yeah.
you know,
Do you feel like that it's been a cathartic experience in terms of just getting that out and sharing it?
well, you put the dots together on some things, and especially like holding my breath, the title.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that's been a tale in my family, you know, since I was born. But to go back and start my book and talk about that, but then talk about as I go through the book and go, oh shit, I'm holding my breath again. Man, there he is. You
Yeah.
know, man. Oh, look at holding my breath again. And then so it's like, okay, that is the reference. And that's, you know, when I was 8 months old holding my breath, what in life could I fucking been holding my breath to know? What was I trying to get? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
more the tit. What was it? What there's got to be some. I had enough of my mind to know that if I held my breath long enough till I passed out, there was going to be a response.
Right.
I
Right.
guess I figured it out.
Yeah.
So that in my life, you know, and that's kind of this, you know, I'll tell you because I mean I don't really want to give it all away, but that kind of starts off the whole thing is
Yeah.
of who I am, and when I talked about it and thought about it, it's like, wow, what was it? What could it have been? You know,
Right.
wow.
Yeah.
But as I got older, the next time I really realized I held my breath when, you know, probably 8, 9, 10 years old, going through school again, having to have my way, holding my breath, and I'd talk about it, going, there, I got it again. That's it, you know. So all of a sudden, I'm taking this breath out my life, and then pulled into my music career, getting my way in some things and taking over the band, and holding my breath again in some way. So yeah, I mean, going back and seeing how I was, and I'm thinking, okay, I guess I figured it out. That's who I am now. I'm 63 going on 64.
Right.
I guess that's who I was in life. So I guess let's talk about it, and to talk about it and go, okay, I survived that 38-year deadline. Now it's been, 20 some odd plus years.
Right.
I'm good, I think. And still holding my breath, but it's still, but I'm still finding an easier way to breathe too, also at the same time at
Yeah.
this age.
Well, yeah,
So
you can kind of identify when that's happening and go, oh, yeah,
yeah,
shit, kick yourself
yeah,
out of it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. The book's coming out November 10th. You've got pre-orders out there right now with signed copies, which is super cool. Are you going to
yeah.
do an audiobook at all, do you think? Or
I'm actually going to go in starting tomorrow to record it.
Oh, fantastic. Awesome.
Yeah, so
I
that'll
love
be another
audiobooks.
that'll be another experience in itself, reading an
Yeah.
audiobook.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Oh man. Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome, Chuck. Thank you so much for being on Fans with Bands. I really appreciate it. I've got one last question for you. And
Yeah.
that is pineapple or no pineapple on pizza?
On it for sure with pepperoni.
All
Everybody
right.
thinks I'm crazy.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Chuck, again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, and I'm looking forward to the book.
Cool. Right on, Chuck. Thank you so much. You can go get it at chuckbillybook.com. You can get your pre-orders now. You can get the pre-ordered signed ones now. Hopefully, I can get Rob and Randy are going to sign a few. So
Ooh,
those ones will go quick. So you might want to get in there and get some pre-orders. So
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
spread the word.
All right. Well, we will, man, for sure. I'm
All right,
looking
Chuck.
forward to it. All right, dude.
Thanks, man.
See
All
you,
right.
man.
See ya. Bye.
Bye. Many thanks to Chuck Billy for joining me on this episode of Fans with Bands. Head over to chuckbillybook.com to pre-order your copy of his new book, Holding My Breath, The Two Testaments of Chuck Billy. See the show notes for all the details and links. Bands are nothing without you, the fans. Purchasing music and merchandise is critical to their survival. If you can help out your favorite bands, please do. If you're in Michigan, consider following the Playing in Detroit Area Tonight and SE for Southeast Michigan Music Facebook pages. They are fantastic places for fans and bands to support each other and share our combined love of music. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. Spread the word by rating the show, telling your friends, telling your neighbors, telling your family, telling your priest, tell everyone, and leave a comment. We want to hear what you think. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Latham, Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jam.